who are your top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL?
Dak.
Yes!
I hate that. Like, I hate that I did that. I don't even believe me.
Welcome back to another episode of Caps Off by the Game Day. We got yet another very special guest here in the building. We got Nick from BDGE.
Big time. Let's go.
You've probably seen his TikTok series, whether it's been fantasy content or the very famous Guess Ike's Lunch. Jack would tune in every day. I know
I'm
that.
be honest,
Jack put us all on.
I was like every single day, like when I first saw it, you guys are like 10K followers or some shit. I'm like, this is just awesome. They just guess this guy's lunch every fucking day. And I'm trying to guess it myself. And I'm like, dude, Sweet Green never fucking happened.
No, dude, it never Sweet Green. I don't even know what happened there. Like, we went from 0 to 1 million, like,
Dude,
like that.
that's
It just,
sick.
things got real hectic real quick.
So did that help you guys grow as a company just like exponentially? As people get eyeballs. Obviously, they're coming for the lunch stuff, but then they get eyeballs on your football and fantasy content. Did that just help you guys like exponentially grow a little bit?
I mean, the follower count is cool, I guess. If TikTok had the creativity program going right now, where they're giving out a lot of money per views and stuff, it would have been super helpful at the time. But
Yeah.
the problem with TikTok is it kind of blows you up real quickly, and it's usually through like one niche, right? So once you do that, you're kind of boxed into whatever you're doing at the time. Yeah. And there's part of me that goes, yeah, sure, of these, 600,000 people that follow us, I'm sure there's a percentage of people that also play fantasy football. Probably like a relatively low overlap. But then I think about, hey, what if we spent all the time and like focused on building our audience up for what we actually want to make content-wise? And at the end of the day, say like we had the 600K and 20K of those people play fantasy. In those 6 months, 8 months, we probably would have been able to build up a 20K audience of strictly fantasy, and it probably would have been more engaging content to those people. Like for the future, we would have been set up better because TikTok's feeding it to the right audience throughout. So I go back and forth. It's not like it's a good problem to have, obviously. I'm not going to complain
So
about
you guys
it. But it's
started
tricky.
as a fantasy company?
Yeah, what's the background?
Yeah, so I started making YouTube videos about fantasy in like 2015. I think the first video I ever put out. Yeah. I started blogging before that. So I started blogging about fantasy. Me and my friends were in like a serious high school league, and I won like 3 or 4 out of the first 5 years we played.
Shout out.
So the problem was like that made me think I was good, but looking back on the content I would put out, it was just like miserable. But I started making content because of that, and I'm like, man, I'm kind of good at this. I want to teach other people how to play fantasy better, So I started blogging, and I realized real quickly, I was like, I hate writing. This is like blogging is just not what I like to do. Much more comfortable like in front of a camera on a podcast, whatever. So I was like, I'm gonna make videos instead. And at the time, it's like, what platform can I put videos on? YouTube was the natural path there. And there was no one really doing it at the time. There might have been like 2 or 3 companies or brands doing it. Like I think maybe the fantasy footballers, maybe like 1 or 2 other individual creators. And I didn't really even take it that seriously at first. I was putting out videos, I don't know, once every other week or whatever. The first year I probably put out like 5 to 7 videos, but it started gaining this like weird organic traction. I didn't tell like my friends I was doing it. My family didn't know I was doing it. I was just doing it, whatever, because I like doing it. And it gained this like organic traction. And the next year I took it a little bit more seriously, put out a little bit more content. The traction, got a little bit more steam. And the following year I was like, man, what if I just like really went all in on this, worked every day, like day, night, put out content like every single day, see where it went, right? And I did that, and things, they definitely didn't blow up, but they got big relative to where I was at the time. And I was like, there's something here, there's like the market is clearly telling me they like the content. If I kept going with this, like, let me see where it could take me. And I kind of just kept putting in work year after year after year. And this previous year we got the office space, so we've been in the office for like a year and a half. But I've been doing content full time for fantasy probably for like 5 to 6 years now, I think.
For you. Damn.
So when did BDGE start? Or was that it from the jump? Like,
to be honest, I'm not really even sure. Like when the name came, I kind of was just like doing content, and I think eventually I was like, there's enough steam here where I should probably like put a name behind it or have like an actual brand associated with what I'm doing. So maybe like 2 or 3 years into it, maybe 2017, 18, something like that.
Stands for Big Dogs Gotta Eat, right?
Big Dogs Gotta Eat.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, that's dope. I mean, I feel like one of the cool parts about you being early is that you're early. It's not that crowded a space yet, especially when everybody was like still watching TV a lot for the most part when it comes to fantasy, ESPN, and all that. But then the hard part is like, where do you draw inspiration from? So how did you do that? Or were you just kind of going off the cuff? Like, I think people might like this, and I'm just gonna create.
Yeah,
it?
I mean, I've always looked at like I don't know. We're in a weird time, I guess, with content where people see it and they see it as an opportunity to like make money. I've always made content because it was a way for me to just like express myself. You know, it was something I was passionate about, and I was like, this is how I get it out of me. And I was not like, this is a weird deep pivot, I guess, but like I was not very good at like expressing myself when I was younger, not to like my friends or family or whatever. And when I got on camera, it just felt like the most natural way for me to do it. And it was just like a good outlet for me. So it's like, I kind of just did that, and I did what I wanted to do, and it was like people will gravitate towards it or they won't. And luckily in the fantasy space, it's like the demographic, at least when I first started, was 40, 45, 50-year-old white men, and it's like you see one college kid like say one curse word. It's like even if the content's not good, it's like I relate to that person more than I relate to the other person. Absolutely. So it was just like kind of a natural progression. So inspiration, I've always found my best ideas just come from like real life. Something that inspires me when I'm hanging out with my friends, or something that inspires me within content that I enjoy personally, and I'll try to like put my own twist.
I also feel like fantasy content in general today is still somewhat, old.
It is
like,
still
for lack of a better
old.
term, like all the people out there that are making content, like you have people on TikTok, but all the main players in the space, the Matthew Berry's of the world, the Field Yates, the guys that you see on these major networks are all just old as fuck.
Yeah.
Like so.
But that's the thing. We're not watching that shit, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
I
I
agree
mean,
with you.
I haven't
I'm
watched
just
TV.
saying.
I don't watch TV outside of like live sports. And I know a lot of people are like that. But then you're gonna get your content from these outlets, like from the YouTubes and the TikToks and shit.
Yep.
So
it's cool because a lot of those dudes are like, they're all like really nice guys, but they also see the industry as a very kind of like outdated industry where they're like, oh man, I hope I get hired by ESPN to be a writer. I hope I get and then there's like guys that are our age that are making a fucking killing doing it on YouTube and TikTok, and like the personal brand people are the people that understand that the thing that got those guys there is not what's going to get us there. You know what I mean? Like if you're blowing up on TikTok now, in 5 years, the kids are going to be like, I want to make a TikTok account while they should be on the next social platform. You know what I mean? So it's like
it's a new era, bro.
Yeah, it's a new era.
All right, well, I guess
Friend of the pod, new era.
we'll get right into the fantasy content. We're obviously NFL pod. We talk mostly not fantasy stuff, get into hot debates, stuff like that. We'll do our rankings, which is something we do all the time. But we have a list of NFL players that are usually highly scouted fantasy guys. And we're basically going to ask you if you're fading these guys or buying these guys.
I think it was the top, 20
Essentially,
on fantasy
The
pros?
top 20, we're going to go through like 10 of the guys in the top 20. Okay? So guys that are somewhat more controversial, guys that people might be hesitant because like, they might not be the best like player that you
Injury
think.
history, different reasons.
Whatever it
may
is,
be.
like guys you
Young,
think though that for this
Bijan type
2023 NFL season, whether you're buying them or you're selling them, we all want to know too because we're all just fantasy players ourselves. I'm no fantasy expert. These guys are the fantasy guys here. So I mean, I guess we'll start it off, right?
Let's go.
I'm just gonna run through players. Are you fading or buying this guy, Christian McCaffrey? It's a layup.
I mean, I'm not fading him. Definitely not. He's finally like in an offense that I feel he's putting up 13 to 15 touchdowns in Carolina's offense. I can't imagine what he's going to do in San Fran. And you look at the numbers. Even when he went over there's a lot more weapons, but what he did was basically knock off like Debo's production. Because he's an easier outlet for the quarterback by the line of scrimmage. So I mean, he's definitely a buy for me.
He's a top 3 pick, no matter what. If he goes any that you can't fade.
Dude, if you get him at 4, holy shit.
I mean, I don't think you draft and look at kind of like injury, like you're not previewing anything like that. But at some point, with somebody's injury history, are you scared to take him early?
I mean, he played most of the year last year.
Yeah.
I feel like the NFL is like weird because so many players come in at a young age and get labeled injury prone for like the first year or two, and then you look at their game logs for the next 7 years and they haven't missed a game. So it's like
Keenan Allen's a great example.
Keenan Allen, like Matt Stafford, like all those dudes came in the league, were hurt like right away, and then were fine for the rest of their career. So I think it's cool that fantasy has taken such like a progressive step up in terms of like the people that contribute to the community, because you have a lot of doctors and stuff that will get hands on in terms of the injury, and I think there's I don't think everything's like black and white where it's like, oh, this guy was injured early on, but he's been healthy for the last 6 years. I think there's serious injuries that you need to like consider on a case-by-case basis where it's like, all right, this dude's getting older. Like, he's had the same injury a few times.
Yeah.
Like the scar tissue is going to build up there, and it does become a problem. Does it zap his explosiveness? A guy like Rashad Penny, it's cool to be like, oh, he's efficient on his 7 touches a game for 6 years, but after a while, after you, like Odell, after you tear 2 ACLs, after you break an ankle, like all this shit eventually adds up when you're 29, 30 years old, where it's like, these are all case-by-case basis.
Or you're just Deshaun Jackson and you pull your hamstring every like 3 weeks.
Yeah,
that's what happens
really
with
fun
fast
3 quarters.
body.
I feel like someone just like busts up their entire knee like Javonte Williams, where he just tore literally everything he possibly.
Well,
he's
we
lucky
have
he's
we have a
young.
guy
He's
coming
lucky
up like
He's
that.
lucky.
So we'll
he's
get
young.
to that.
Okay.
Well, I was going to do
think
this
he
one
was
first.
You don't fade
I didn't think he
CMC.
was in the top 20. So
Nah,
that's
you
why I
don't
was
fade
like,
CMC.
No, he's not, but Brees.
okay, someone else.
Should I do that one now then?
Go.
All right, buy or sell this guy, Saquon Barkley.
Buy. Easy buy. I don't even know. He's like falling in drafts for some reason, and I feel like we're seeing like a swing of wide receivers starting to go really, really early, where every like home friends family league is so like running back heavy, but now you're seeing people kind of advocate for wide receivers because we're seeing like a downplay of. I guess we typically go off of like the trends of last year, but I also think it's more of a passing league. So I don't know. I go back and forth on it, but Saquon felt like the easiest buy based off the previous year was like anyone coming off of an ACL the year prior is a little bit problematic in my eyes. You want the guys like 2 years off the ACL, right?
Yeah.
Like that's another one from like the doctors in the space. They tell you about this stuff. It's very scientific.
Jesse
it's not really
Moore's,
hard. He was a guy that was on my channel for a long time. Like I like him a lot, and he's really, really smart, and he gave me a lot of like insight onto the way to think about these things. And Saquon was an easy fade for me 2 years ago, an easy buy for me last year, and I'm back on the train.
Yeah, he was an easy buy last year, I think, late in that first because so many people were afraid of that ACL. I think if he's going in like the top 4 or 5, to me, it's a fade because I would rather follow and take wide receivers who have a higher floor. But at the same time, if he falls, if someone is going to go wide receiver heavy and he falls 7 through 12, like you take Saquon.
I think he's going even later than that.
I also feel like it's way easier to get production from like a couple wide receivers, even like a waiver wire guy though. But if you want to get one of those like surefire stud running backs, you got to get him.
So I was going to ask though, what's the earliest you should draft a running back? Should you be drafting running backs in the first round? Obviously, the draft strategy for years when we were growing up, I remember was always draft a running back.
So many running backs, bro.
We don't have bell cows like we used to anymore. So like, to take them back in the past, it made sense. Now you have so many wide receivers that are elite wide receiver ones.
And again, it goes back to just I think the trend of the NFL of just how pass heavy everything is, and it makes sense because quarterbacks, if they get touched, you're getting a roughing the passer call. Throw it downfield, there's like a 50% chance you're getting a PI call.
Yeah.
It's just the way it makes more sense. It's like people in fantasy use the term plus EV, right? Like on if you're gambling, if you're doing whatever, like just dropping back to pass is such a plus EV move in the NFL that it makes sense for teams to do that. And teams like to draft specialist backs now. You always have a committee in the backfield, so it's like it's a weird dichotomy, I guess, because the best fantasy running backs are the ones that win you your league. If you can grab a guy that rips off 23, 25 points a game, he's going to be the one that's in the championship. But the wide receivers just feel so much safer. Like I'd take Justin Jefferson over C-Mac, but like if C-Mac plays to his ceiling, he's going to be the best player in the world when it comes to fantasy. So it's like this is a year where I'm kind of shying away, I think, a little bit from running back in the first round unless there's someone that drops a little bit later in the draft.
To answer your question, I think unless it's CMC, like I don't want to take Eckler because I'm afraid of a new offense, and I think he regresses a little bit. But I think the earliest you take is a CMC. The rest, within those top 2 or 3 picks, and then outside of that, you can go wide receiver. There's nothing wrong with it.
What are you churning about over there?
I just look, man. I've been thinking about it lately. We haven't really talked about this, but Kellen Moore now in LA. What he did with Tony Pollard, Eckler is more talented than Tony Pollard as just a receiver, and Pollard gets it done.
Yeah, I just don't know what that. I know.
I
what
think he'll
Tony
get
Pollard
volume.
was
I think he'll get volume. Eckler's game is based off volume, receiving wise.
All right, well, let's move to another running back. Are you buying or selling Bijan Robinson?
I'm a Falcons fan.
Oh, you are?
Oh,
Yeah, I love Bijan.
Where are you from? Are you from New York?
I'm from New York. Yeah.
Okay. Why are you a Falcons fan?
When I first started,
Mike Vick.
Yeah, of course.
Is that it? Is that it?
when I first started watching football, it's like kind of when Mike Vick came in the league, and he was obviously the most like electric athlete on the planet. So
Ever.
just fell in love with him,
So
and then
sick.
stuck with the Falcons since then.
All right, so you're buying Bijan? Is that what you're saying?
Are we talking about fantasy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a dude I would be okay taking at the end of the first round if he's dropping down there, because I look at like Arthur Smith and the offense that he wants to build up. Obviously, he kind of like has found his Derrick Henry in that offense, I think, and Bijan's going to get like a sick amount of touches, and their O-line's so underrated too. We have like one of the best O-lines in the league too. So I don't see a situation if Tyler Algier can rip off 1,000 and average like 5 yards per carry. Bijan's going crazy this year.
I mean, Bijan. I'm buying Bijan because if we just look, it's similar to what like when Saquon came into the league first and foremost. Like he popped off that first year. I think Bijan's just going to be abused. Now whether or not he gets, knock on wood, he can stay healthy, that's a different story. But Bijan is everything you want.
That's the thing. Like Saquon had like 2,000 yards from scrimmage as a rookie, and they were a bad team. They were like 5-11 that year.
Yeah.
Right?
I think the Falcons are an improved team. I'm buying Bijan.
Yeah,
I don't mind.
I like Bijan a lot.
All right, buy or sell Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, Kupp.
coming off
Kupp
injury.
feels like Kupp feels like this year's Saquon at the wide receiver position.
Yep.
Where it's like you're not really getting a discount. You still probably got to take him
Yeah.
at like 5 or 6, but like he should probably be like 1 or 2.
Bro, the per game averages he was doing, even before he got hurt, people forget because, I mean, he got hurt, so you're like, oh, he wasn't one of the top 10 receivers by the end of the year.
I know exactly
But his
that
per game
averages,
averages were fucking insane. You have it now, don't you?
Over the last 2 seasons, these are the most 15-plus PPR point games. Cooper Kupp is number 1. 92% of the time, he has 15-plus points.
That's stupid.
The next closest person is Justin Jefferson at 68%.
Ooh.
Damn.
So now, granted,
insane.
Cooper Kupp missed like the back half of last year, so he's only played 26 games over the last 2 years. But 92% of the time, he might be the safest bet in
People
fantasy
forget,
this
like,
year.
before Cooper Kupp got hurt last year, he was by far the best player.
Oh, yeah,
in
he was on
fantasy.
pace.
So is there any shot you take Kupp over Jefferson or Chase?
I'd consider him over Chase. Jefferson feels like the clear one to me. He feels like he's ready to explode for 2,000 yards and like 17 touchdowns or something this year.
He didn't get hurt, too.
Yeah, like Kupp. I feel like the hesitancy with Kupp is like you're not only buying into Kupp and making sure he stays healthy, but people are nervous about Stafford and his back and stuff. I feel like all reports have been relatively positive out of camp that he's healthy and ready to go. Their defense will probably be terrible too, so it's like I think there'll be a lot of passing volume.
Yeah.
I think you got to trust Kupp. You gotta
Yeah,
I'm in
buy
on Kupp for
buy
sure.
Kupp.
All right. Are you buying or selling Tony Pollard?
Ooh.
Felipe is the Cowboys fan. Of the
I'm a
bunch.
Cowboys fan.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because everything they've said this offseason was like, we just want to get the run going. Like, they let go of Kellen Moore because he's not running the ball enough. But then everything they did pointed towards being a passing offense. So I'm like kind of having a tough time getting a read on what this offense is actually going to look like. Pollard's one of those dudes, I guess it's weird because he's such an electric player. I'm kind of indifferent on. Like, I'm not going out of my way to buy him, but I'm definitely not like fading him because he's such a good, efficient player and should get a lot of touches in the offense. So if he drops to me at where I feel like his ADP is, the guys that I love are like off the board at that point, and I'm looking for a running back, I'm cool with Pollard.
What's his ADP right now? Is like where's he going, kind of?
Depends, I guess, what platforms you use. But like I
Where
draft
are you comfortable taking him? Like a PPR league.
PPR league, probably like middle and second.
We had I don't know if you're familiar with Upperhand Fantasy. He's on like another social
Big Instagram
fantasy
guy.
guy. Yeah, big on Instagram. He said potentially RB1 for Pollard this year.
It's in the range of outcomes.
It is. I feel like it's that feels like kind of like a try hard take though. There's no way Pollard's gonna be the RB1 over fucking C-Mac, Eckler, Bijan.
Injuries, or you can stay healthy. I can
Yeah,
say-
but you're not relying on. You can't rely on.
no, but like it's like the
We've also
same-
never seen him carry a workload, bro. Like so I don't know if he's gonna do
That's
that
a
yet.
skill in itself. Like
Yeah.
having longevity in the league, it's not
Yeah.
easy to be there for
Okay.
17 games.
I think to answer your point, I'm selling Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
I think
If I had
he's
to
being
lean
a little
one
bit
way,
more
yeah,
hyped.
same.
He's being a little bit more.
Should I do
hyped.
another Cowboy? Buy or sell? CeeDee Lamb.
Buy.
See, he's another one. Beginning of the spring, summer, I was like, I'm selling CD pretty hard because of the narrative around this offense. But I'm also kind of comfortable like where he is. I think some of the guys going behind him though, like I think I like Waddle over CeeDee Lamb. Him and Devonte Adams, I think, is kind of like a good bar or good meter there because Devontae's going to LV where the pass volume is going to be a little wonky with Jimmy G, I think. So CD's a guy that same with Pollard. Like because I'm so unsure about what this offense is going to be, I'm not really sure what to do with these players.
Yeah, you're the Cowboys fan. You want to speak on CD?
Well, I mean, he's gotten better every year. I just see that continuing. I think, obviously, last year, the Cowboys' receivers in separation were like either 31st or 32nd. So they were terrible outside of CeeDee Lamb. All Dak had was Pollard and literally Lamb. And obviously, you're not throwing it to Pollard that much. He's not a receiver. So I think getting Cooks there is going to help CeeDee Lamb out a lot because it was just him going against coverages himself. People thought Dalton Schultz was good because of what he did. He's not good, bro. He was just like, that was all Dallas had. That's
What do
all
you think
Dak had.
What do you think about Gallup? Now that he's 2 years removed
there you
from
go.
the
Yeah,
ACL,
it's a
right?
2-year thing from removed from
kinda
the
in on him.
ACL. I like him. I kind of with you. Like I don't know because you have now Brandon Cooks. He's gonna be your 2. Gallup's always when Gallup was pretty freaking good. He was the number 2. Now he's gonna be the 3. I don't know the volume he's getting there. There are kind of some mouths to feed, I would say, and they drafted another tight end. So I don't know about Gallup.
You gotta buy CD. That's all that matters.
This is an interesting one. Not a guy that I would expect to be in the top 20 list, but are you buying or selling Ramondre Stevenson?
Oh, I don't get it.
What? I
you
don't get
it.
I just don't understand. Like, I'm not a huge fantasy guy. So
Neither
it's
am I.
like,
So for me, from
why
like
is he
just
ranked so
I mean, if
high?
we look at volume, he was one of the best in the NFL last year. in terms
Exactly.
of
What did he
fantasy.
finish? What did he finish last year?
Like a top 5 running back, top 6.
I don't
7.
think like people. If you look at passing numbers, like
crazy.
every receiving statistic for running backs pretty much went Eckler, C-Mac, Ramondre. Like targets, receiving yards, all that kind of stuff. He's a wildly underrated pass catching back. And it feels like New England doesn't really give off that, like, we want one workhorse type of guy, but they did with Ramondre, which makes me feel kind of comfortable with him. He was also a dude that I loved coming out of college, so I'm, like, a little bit biased.
Where did he go to college?
Oklahoma. He was, like, all over the place. He didn't play a lot in college because he dealt with some off-the-field issues. He went to, like, JUCO first and stuff, so not a lot of people really knew about him. I was super high on him, so I was like, this guy's talented, finally gets a shot, proves me right, so I'm like, let's go. Like, I'm all in on Ramondre now.
So you're buying.
I'm buying. Yeah, I just don't see a world where this offense runs through anyone but Ramondre either.
You know what the
not-
problem
it's not
is
gonna
with
run through Mac
Ramondre,
Jones.
and it's probably like you're falling victim to this. Is nobody wants to watch the boring ass Patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
But
Honestly,
still, boring
facts, yeah.
teams have guys that perform well, and Ramondre is one of those guys. But I think
Also,
that's one of the problems.
Honestly, that's a good fantasy strategy too. Is finding the guys no one's expecting.
I don't know how many rushing touchdowns Ramondre had last year. I don't think it was like overly high, but I'm pretty sure Dame Harris had like 10 goal line carries. Something
he's
like
a vulture.
pretty high. Yeah. So it's like there's also they didn't bring in a real veteran to play against him, really. They got like Pierre Strong, Kevin Harris, I don't know, like Ty Montgomery hype is starting up again. So it's all these like scrubs that aren't, you know, maybe they get used in a breather back position. Maybe one of them takes like a 2-minute drill here and there. But Ramondre feels like he's going to get as much work as he could possibly get this year.
I would take Ramondre over like guys like Josh Jacobs, Chubb.
Over Chubb, really.
Chubb?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
spi-
because
that's
he's
spicy.
not he doesn't have any. Nick Chubb is. There's still.
Chubb's got no Kareem Hunt with him now.
It
though.
doesn't matter. Nick Chubb is also just not a pass catching back, and I don't expect Kevin Stefanski
yeah, but he'll catch
to change
screens
the
and
offense.
take it for 50.
I'm going to take Ramondre,
he's
who is
incredible.
the one of the few potential bell cows in fantasy. this
Ramondre's
year.
the greatest running back of all time. I understand that.
But, like, I love Nick Chubb. But, like Nick Chubb's going to get touchdowns,
He's no
but he's
Ramondre,
he's a running back
Yeah.
too. He's not
He's
nice.
competing with Nick Chubb for touches now.
Jerome Ford.
Ew.
Demetric Felton.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah,
It's bad.
come
But
on.
Chubb's going to get a lot of work.
Jerome
Yeah.
Ford was gross at Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Like
All right. Well,
it wouldn't shock me at all.
are you buying or selling Jonathan Taylor coming from a down year?
So
Sell?
yeah.
You want to explain it?
Yeah, he's a top 6 pick, I think, right now in terms of just his ADP. Anthony Richardson's going to vulture a lot of these goal line carries. I don't expect Anthony Richardson to dump it off that much to Jonathan Taylor. Their offensive line got worse last year. So I think you're drafting him at what his ceiling is, which is a top 6 pick. And obviously, if you get a top 6 running pick or top 6 player from that, it's amazing. But I think Jonathan Taylor's a guy that was a benefited from a really good offensive line that regressed tremendously last year. So, and now you add Anthony Richardson to the mix. I don't think he's going to have as many goal line touchdowns.
I'd sell him at that spot. I've seen him drop further than that, so it'd be cool to grab a wide receiver in the first round. Jonathan Taylor is your RB1 in the second round.
hell yeah.
yeah.
That drops to the second.
Yeah, I see him dropping because that is the narrative. It's like their O-line kind of like fell apart last year, and that was always like the thing about drafting a Colts running back is you think about like Quentin Nelson, and there's like the whole O-line is anchored, but it's like it wasn't the case last year. I think Anthony Richardson is going to be good for that offense, even if he's not like a great thrower of the football. I think it'll open up a lot for JT, and he's a dude that like any given touch he'll take to the house. You know, we haven't really seen
he's
that
a home
type of
run threat.
explosion in a while.
I think a big part of it also is Shane Steichen being the head coach now, who just ran it with Jalen Hurts and RPO system. So,
Yeah.
like, that's going to be
it's fair.
that's going to benefit. That could benefit him
It
at least.
could.
I mean, Miles
What did
Sanders
Miles
flourished
finish?
last year.
Miles had a good year,
Miles
but
had
like,
a good year, but they also had way more running backs there.
yeah.
They love to use like every running back on that roster.
Shout out Boston Scott,
I'm
bro.
curious though.
He's a giant killer, bro.
Kenneth Gainwell. Like I pick him up in fantasy every fucking year. Kenneth Gainwell. I don't know why. Yeah, he's
stinks.
terrible.
We
Like,
asked Upper Hand the same question. I'm curious for you. What do you think is the best place to draft in a 12-team league this year? Like, where's the best spot? You
I
can
heard
give like a
some-
range.
I heard some comments asking like 14 team league too.
Oh yeah, I mean,
14 is deep.
That's deep.
These are
12.
one of those things I don't really overthink.
Yeah.
I just like probably want one of the top spots. I'll usually make like my first tier of guys, and this year it kind of feels like Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp. I throw Tyreek Hill in there, and C-Mac, and maybe there's like one or two that I'm not really thinking of. But if there's a group of like 4 or 5 dudes that I'm super comfortable with at the top of it, give me the last, I want in there, but I want the last pick of that so that I get the first pick of the second round on the way back. Because who knows, maybe a JT will fall to you there, maybe a Chubb or a Ramondre or whatever. You know,
So you want like a top 5 pick this year is what you're saying.
Yeah, give me like Tyreek Hill and Nick Chubb. Tyreek Hill and like one of those dudes.
Nick Chubb can fall mid.
I just feel like you get back 4 picks, 8 through 12, and you can get 2 elite wide receiver ones, and then have your sweet spot be in that third to fifth round, which is normally the start of the running back dead zone, and get guys that are going to catch balls like Rashad White and Cam Akers, who could be good, and they have no one else behind him.
I don't want Rashad White and Cam.
And like
Akers,
Madre Stevenson, greatest running back ever.
I'm just saying, dude, we don't know how.
We get it. You've ripped like 150 mocks.
Oh yeah, no,
week.
I've seen this. I've seen the script.
All right,
how many mocks do you think you go a day?
3.
Jesus Christ. How many mocks you do a day?
I don't really do
You got to boost those numbers.
that
Whatever.
already.
Yeah, exactly.
The rookie numbers.
Didn't even know how I was going to finish that.
Yeah, I don't need to know. They're not 3 a day.
I don't really do mocks that often. I do mock drafts for content a lot of the time. So if I'm doing them for content, I don't do them like off camera that often.
Just for funsies.
Yeah,
you know?
because then you got to be like paying attention and like really in the zone, like while you're doing it.
Adam's never done one for content. Not once. He only does them for himself.
I can check out the 9th spot right now.
he's literally ripped mocks like while we're recording. He's like,
It's not my fault. Fantasy Pros came out with an app. Here we go.
But I probably do like 3 or 4 a week via content. So I'm like relatively
I think
up enough on that.
I've done 2 mocks ever
In your life? Yeah. I always do at least one before, like the week before I draft, but that's
You gotta do one, bro. You gotta
Yeah,
do
you
one
gotta
at
do-
least.
Are you guys playing a league together?
We have a work
we
league,
sorta
but it's
did.
not
It was-
as competitive.
We did a work league last
I mean, it
year.
makes sense when you have 98 mock drafts and
Yeah.
you've done 2 in your life.
I did better than him last year, so it's all good.
But that's the thing.
that's
is
the way
that-
Adam talked a lot of
That's how it always
smack.
works, bro.
Adam talked a lot of smack last year in the work
Also,
league.
like
and then
all
he
the
was
advice
bad.
I feel like I gave out was just ripped from other people. So it was, my
You
strategy
made
was
me
fucked.
draft Romeo Dobbs, you motherfucker.
Oh no, still, he's the next Cooper Kupp.
I mean, that's a good call last year.
Yeah.
Last
For
year,
like the first month or
Before?
2. He was like relatively unknown.
If he doesn't drop that touchdown, he's a 2-touchdown game. He's Aaron
I
Rodgers'
remember
favorite wide
watching that,
receiver.
dude.
Nah, because Christian Watson dropped that touchdown that was bad in the beginning of the year, and then he came on later.
Facts.
All right,
Romeo
I got
Dobbs
2
is
more names. I got 2 more names for buy or sell, and then we'll move on to some other stuff. Are you buying or selling Derrick Henry?
Ooh. Oh man.
He's aging.
This just feels like I don't really have any sound logic for selling him. I just like the other running backs probably around him. I'm really worried that the Tennessee offense just absolutely falls out from underneath him.
Mid-second, that's kind of where he's around.
I'd take him there, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think you take Derrick Henry because we were just talking about it on, I think it was on yesterday's podcast, about selling off players. And I could see Tennessee selling off Derrick Henry at the deadline. Like, that would not
look,
shock
if he
me at
goes
all.
to somewhere favorable, bro, where that offense actually moves and shit, and there's more stuff going on.
Like, you're going to get touchdowns from Derrick Henry, so you know that there's a safe
Where do we
floor
see him
with
finishing? Like, what if we had to project,
RB1.
Where Derrick Henry would finish?
bro? Like, he's not.
Yeah.
Gonna, yeah. Like,
No, like RB1,
he'll
like
be a top 12 running back. Okay, but where's he gonna
probably
finish?
probably like RB6 or 7 again, dude.
And I love
Yeah.
that.
Which
You
you
know what I'm
would
saying?
take in the second round.
Correct.
That's all
Yeah.
you're going to
Which is why I'm like so hesitant because I'm like it's gonna be sloppy. There are gonna be like games where he goes 30 for 89 without a touchdown, and then he'll have his big games where he rips off a 90-yard run. I'm
That's
like,
the
thank
thing.
fucking God.
See,
I
I'm in a
have him.
dilemma right now because I have him in Dynasty.
Okay.
And-
I mean
and-
that's a different animal.
Yeah. But nobody wants him, obviously, because everybody's looking at the age. And I'm like, bro, he'll win your league this year, And I just won, so it's like I don't necessarily need him.
Well, you're looking for more sex appeal.
I'm not gonna get it.
Well,
Yeah.
the way to trade a dude like that in Dynasty, I
It'd be
think
like mid-season. I feel like
you
when
do it.
something-
You do it right before the trade deadline because you
Yeah.
know exactly who the contenders are and you
Yeah,
know who's not.
exactly.
But like you might be one of the dudes who needs Derrick Henry. You
Yeah,
know, but
totally.
you also risk, I guess, like seeing if he falls off by that time of year.
Yeah.
But
It's a
that's
risk
like
I
the
gotta
best
take.
time because you're getting like two teams that know exactly what direction they're going in because you'll have like one guy's like I'm looking at the
Exactly.
future, one guy's like I'm looking for the playoffs. Whereas you do it in the summer, like everybody thinks they're a contender for that year, so
Yeah,
you'll
right.
never get fair value on trades.
Totally,
But mid-year,
totally.
it's cool.
Yeah.
All right, last name. Are you buying or selling AJ Brown?
He's like an impossible sell. I feel like Hurts has done nothing but just improve year over year over year, and he looked fantastic as a passer. AJ Brown is
He's so good.
so good. He's just dominant on the outside, but he can move so well with the ball in his hands. He's Fantastic separator too.
He's such an alpha.
He's such an alpha, but it's like if DK Metcalf was a little bit more refined on his routes. That's kind of what AJ Brown is. You know, he's like a real separator. Like you can't put a cornerback on him that will be able to stick to him.
It's still crazy to me that those two guys were teammates at Ole Miss and they won like 8 fucking games.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Like that's crazy.
I'm buying AJ Brown for sure.
Are you high on? Was Devonte Smith on your top 5 players to break out this year or something like that? I might have seen it somewhere. I don't know if it was yours.
No. I think you're right. I think I might have made a video like 4 days ago that had Devonte Smith on it with that. Yeah. I think you're right.
But the reason I ask is I've seen Devonte climbing up a lot of people, including mine.
Do you happen to have him
But
on?
I do happen to have him in
Dynasty
Dynasty. But here's the thing. Obviously, he's a great
wanna ask about
receiver,
Justin
and I think
Fields
from
taking
at the second half of last year, including the playoffs, second half of the regular season, including the
Right.
playoffs, he actually outperformed AJ Brown.
Yep.
And if that trend continues, then you're talking. I mean, I think that's where we start to look at AJ Brown, and he's like, is he worth? Because I don't think a lot of people realize that, and they think like, okay, you got the alpha and AJ Brown, and you got Devonte, who's like
Refined
wide
route
receiver
runner.
too. What'd you say?
The refined route runner.
Yeah, but Devontae's better than he's not a 2. I feel like he's a 1 on a lot of teams.
He's 100% a 1 on basically 90% of the other NFL offenses.
So does his progression take away from AJ Brown this year? Including, we're not even considering that Jalen Hurts. I mean, he could regress this year. Like it's reasonable to think that he'll regress.
He's not going to regress.
He's not
But
gonna
that's
regress?
why
I don't think
that's
so
why I'm
either.
actually going to sell AJ Brown because you have Devonte Smith getting better, and then people forget AJ Brown had games where he had like 3 to 4 touchdowns, so his numbers were somewhat
little skewed.
inflated.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I still think he's an elite wide receiver 1, and can he finish as a top 5 wide receiver? No doubt about it. But I feel like the sample size is like, you know what, he's not going to be as good as he was last year, and I think he's going early second.
I feel like the problem with fantasy football is like people. Okay, so you'll look back on last year and be like, this guy finished as the wide receiver 7. I want that on my team, right? But then once you start doing research for this year, you're like, he was kind of inconsistent. But it's like people want to pair the overall output with the consistency. And it's like, you can't do that. You can't predict what's going to happen on a week-by-week basis on a 16, 17-game season in fantasy. So it's like, with those two guys, we know how talented they are. It's like, just draft them and let the good times
Well,
roll.
I think also with that, like you draft AJ Brown, you buy AJ Brown depending on who your first pick is. So if you're like late in that first and you get a Cooper Kupp or Tyreek where there's a safe floor, now you can play a ceiling play with AJ Brown, who's going to have a game where he's going to go off for 30 and then a game where he's going to go for like 8 potentially. But it depends who you're pairing him with to buy or
Ramondre
Where is he going in all your mocks lately?
You know, AJ's going before I would have liked. He's going early second.
Oh, wow.
You know, so I've been picking in that like 7 to 9 spot, really just
CPUs
ranging.
love AJ, huh?
Yeah. So I found myself taking like CeeDee on that back end, Devonte, you know, guys like that because AJ's going.
Ramondre.
So,
Thanks for letting me know who you're picking. 'Cause I've actually
Go.
been so curious about your mocks.
yeah, no, you've been asking a lot.
Who would you say are your top 3 most overvalued and most undervalued players
Okay.
for fantasy?
Overvalued right now, CeeDee Lamb.
Adam, that's you're taking in all of your mocks, bro.
Absolutely,
It's fantasy.
absolutely.
All right, there's a couple, I think, running backs come to mind.
Well,
like,
why CeeDee? Why CeeDee?
I'm nervous. I am nervous about the offense as like a volume play. I know CeeDee's more than just a volume play,
Right.
But Kellen Moore, like as the OC, has kept that pace, top 5, like pass percentage, top 5, pass attempts, just up there, like the highest amongst the other teams in the league. CeeDee had 150 targets or something last year, maybe upwards of that. If the new OC, whoever's calling plays now, if it's McCarthy or whatever, and they drop their pace from like 5th in the NFL down to like 19th. The play volume is going to drop, right? And then you have Brandon Cooks, you have Michael Gallup, who I think is going to be a lot stronger this year. So I question like just the overall. He's going to have a good year, but like I think when you're thinking about your first round pick, it's do I feel comfortable with a guy? Is CeeDee going to end up with like 1,150 yards and 8 touchdowns? Like good year, but like I don't want that as my first round pick in fantasy when you have dudes like Bijan who could pop off for 1,800 yards from scrimmage. So CeeDee is a guy that I'm not really pulling the trigger on based on where he's going. Same with Najee Harris. Like I can't stand Najee Harris.
People are like back in on Najee somehow this year.
Makes no sense. I saw him at a cafe around the corner.
Oh, really?
In the West Village like 2 weekends ago. Yeah, it was so odd. I was just like walking around the corner, and all of a sudden, like I look into the window, and he's just there.
And now you're like, I'm on the Najee Harris
Yeah,
train.
I hated the way he looked at me.
Oh, really?
No.
Sell Najee Harris.
Yeah, I just think he's so wildly inefficient, and it's like
He's definitely inefficient.
Yeah, but he was playing with injury last year.
Yeah.
And people.
Yeah, I've looked at the numbers though. Like his numbers are not that much different in injury. The volume went up. That was the thing, and like maybe they gave him more volume because of it. But in terms of like missed tackles force, in terms of breakaway. Like, the dude can't run for more than 15 yards at a time. It's just like he's done it like 3 times in his entire career on like 8,000 carries.
So he's your second overvalued player?
Yeah, I'm not really in on Najee Harris. Man, I feel like I have a lot, but ETN is a dude I'm treading very carefully on as well. I think the Tank Bigsby addition is like super, super underrated.
Bigsby's good, man.
Tank Bigsby's good, and I feel like he's a really good complement to ETN. Whereas, like, I think of him as more of like a bruiser, and he's also a good pass catcher. And ETN has been like pretty inefficient as a pass catcher in the NFL so far. So I get a little bit nervous about like who's the guy on the goal line and who's the guy in like 2 and 4 minute drills, and those are so valuable when it comes to fantasy. So like ETN, he's not necessarily like a fade to me, but if I have to take him in the mid-3rd round, around where like the Ramondres or the Josh Jacobs and those guys are going, like I'm going to take those dudes over ETN every day.
Where are you drafting to seeing Josh Jacobs and Ramondre going to the 3rd?
Underdog.
I guess.
They're all paid leagues too, so that's probably the most accurate like ADP out there. But it's super. They start 3 wide receivers, so the people in those leagues are super wide receiver heavy.
Yeah,
so you're seeing them
start
drop.
mocking on Underdog.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
What about your most undervalued players for fantasy?
The Miami offense, like the combo of Tua and Jalen Waddle.
Adams from South Florida. He's a huge Dolphins fan.
Let's go. I think there's a chance that we see Hill and Waddle have like a 60% combined target share. Like, I think there's a chance that they set the record. Like, what did they add this year in the pass catching? Like,
1,400 and 1,700.
That's stupid.
But like weapons wise,
Oh no,
Gesicki's out of the picture now. Like,
Yeah, it's insane, bro.
that's what I mean. Like, they have nothing. They already combined for like 53% of the targets or something
Yeah, that's
last year.
crazy.
Jalen Waddle, he was like number 1 in yards per target, yards per reception, number 1 in like basically fucking every metric.
Tyreek also said he didn't understand the offense. He was just playing football.
Yeah,
So he's like,
Wouldn't
now,
be- I
Hopefully
wouldn't
he
be surprised if
studied
both
up
them
by
were top
now.
5.
I didn't even know that. That's funny.
Who else do we
hilarious,
have
bro.
underrated? I actually love, like, another reason that I don't want to take running backs early is because I think the middle rounds of running backs are like really appealing this year. So I know you mentioned like Akers, you don't like Akers, but like Dobbins, Akers, guys from that class,
Dobbins a
I'm wildly excited. Yeah, Dobbins 2 years
Dobbins
removed from
great.
the ACL, finished really, really strong at the end of last year, like 100 yards from scrimmage.
better offense. as
Better,
well.
yeah, better offense. Like, going to move the ball easily. Todd Monken gets me excited about like the pass catching ability that he might have there, coming from Georgia, where they were like throwing it to James Cook, Kenny McIntosh. You know, similar offense. Like, you look at what they did at Georgia, it was tight ends, Brock Bowers, Darnell Washington, and it was running backs getting the passes. It's super similar to Baltimore, so I could see a setup that's similar to that. So I like those mid-round running backs of Dobbins, Akers, Dameon Pierce. Like, they're all going 5th, 6th, 7th round, and I feel like that's where you can kind of stack up there.
Fire.
Aaron Jones too.
Exactly, yeah.
There's a question we wrote down that is something we talk about a lot. I'm curious if you have the same answer as we do. This is more of like a playing football question, but based on fantasy than actually about fantasy. What's one player, and it's a little bit of a test, I want to see if you say the same name as we do. What's one player that is super overrated because they're a good fantasy player?
Okay, so I was reading the show sheet, and this question like stood out to me. I started thinking about this a little bit, and I haven't seen your guys' like clips about this specific question. So
I'm actually
I
not
don't know
sure if we've
I don't
clipped
think- yeah, I don't
this,
think it was ever
but
done.
we've
I don't
said
think
it
we have.
like
We did it on, like, a
it
TikTok
is- we've
live.
said it in passing a lot, and we've
We
said
say
it.
it a lot all the
Yeah,
time.
on TikTok Live, we say it. Yeah.
It feels like you're setting me up to say Lamar Jackson.
No,
I don't know.
it's not Lamar
I
Jackson.
wasn't going to
Yes.
say. Okay, good.
No, we love Lamar Jackson here.
So I was thinking about this, and I think like the only way to answer this question, or I guess like mobile quarterbacks come to mind first, and then running backs, right? Like how often do bad wide receivers do well in fantasy?
Exactly.
It never happens. If you look at the top 15 dudes, they're all really good receivers.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
it's because like a running back gets forced volume. Like the play gets called, right? Coach calls a play. If it's a run play, the running back's getting the ball. If it's a pass play, you have to be a good wide receiver to earn that target. So there's like a difference between, like, you actually have to be good at your position in order to get volume.
absolutely.
Where at the running back position, Najee Harris will get another 350 carries this year and average 3.7 yards per carry. So first guy that comes to my mind, and I've been saying this for a while, is Joe Mixon.
Oh, okay.
Joe
Similar.
Mixon, like, he's another dude that just anytime I watch him, he plays like bully ball and he has some cool plays, but he's so buoyed by the Bengals offense. In the years where he's not scoring 12 goal line touchdowns, Mixon looks slow. He's never explosive on the field.
Yeah.
He's super, like, the team has said 6 years in a row, basically they prefer Samaje Perine and Gio Bernard in the pass catching role. There's just like not a lot that entices me about Joe Mixon.
Are you high on?
I haven't watched Joe Mixon that much and been like, wow, this guy's a dog. Like,
Never
you don't
do.
really.
Nah. You're on a Mixon train.
You want to?
You could say,
You're on a
listen,
Mixon
he's a
I'm
dog.
not a Mixon guy.
He's
I'm
a
not a
dog.
Burrow
I
guy.
don't care. I'm for fantasy. I like Mixon. You want to reveal
Yeah,
who
I'm
we're
always-
talking
I'm
about?
That's what I
always
mean. Like,
on
he's
Adam's
good for
going against
fantasy,
Yeah.
but like
No,
in real
not
life,
against Mixon.
Right.
You want to?
I get on you for going against Burrow.
Adam, you
Not
want to tell
Mixon.
him who we're talking? Who our most overrated
wait, can I
player is?
Can I guess? Because I actually wrote down a list of some dudes on here.
Yeah.
Let me
I also
pull it
think
up.
to Joe Mixon's point, sure, yeah, like he's somewhat overvalued, but I feel like he's perfectly like rated. Like I don't think anyone's
Yeah.
like overinflating
Yeah, I agree.
what
prior
his
to this year,
value
though,
is.
people don't like him this year. But I've been saying this for like 2 to 3 years, and
Yeah.
he was not great last year. He was not. I just feel like the touchdowns buoy him.
He was just dope.
Oh
at-
yeah. Last year, when he had a 5 touchdown game,
He was just
I would
dope at
also
OU,
draft
bro.
Joe Mixon this year though. Like he's a guy they didn't replace anyone.
Yeah,
They
I
didn't
would
add
too.
him.
I would too. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like I like him for fantasy.
For fantasy,
but
but as a
fantasy.
player,
Draft
yeah.
that- They drafted one guy though. Like
Yeah, but like in
Chase
the
Brown.
fifth,
Chase
fifth,
Brown.
sixth,
You
like-
try-
interesting,
He's a
but-
dog.
Are
He's a
you
dog.
trying to guess who our
Actually,
players?
yeah, you know what? I don't know if I have a good guess. I was gonna say Juju, but he's like
No.
he's so like lowly rated at this point that it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
Eckler.
Eckler's.
And
that's
let me
the
tell you
guy.
why. Because I think Austin Eckler, when people talk about the best running backs in the NFL, they talk about Austin Eckler, and I don't think he's there. If you've never had a 1,000-yard rushing season, you're not a running back. You're a weapon. You're a pass-catching back, but fantasy has skewed it to the point where people put Austin Eckler in a top 5 running back rankings. And you ask any even player, when we go to these drafts, when we go to and say ask for, we ask them for rankings, no one's putting Austin.
They don't put
there.
Eckler in those?
and no one's
Never.
and ranked
Never.
and rightfully so. Like, is Austin Eckler talented? Absolutely. Is he inflated because of what he does in fantasy? Absolutely. That's why I say he's overrated.
Okay. I can kind of agree with that, but I also think if the team gave him 30, 40 more carries a year, you look at him as the same way that you look at Aaron Jones. And he's
Sure.
not an overrated
Yeah,
running back
sure.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
He's just as efficient on the ground, and he's I guess like the point would be then, okay, if you look at these mobile quarterbacks, is Jalen Hurts overrated? Because if you're going to put like a mark
Yes.
of 1,000 rushing yards, but in today's NFL, how is that true?
I'll tell you the reason we've had
Jalen
this
Hurts
debate
is the
many
best
times.
player on the field
Don't
this
get me
Super
wrong,
Bowl.
Jalen
Lamar
Hurts was
Jackson.
He
unbelievable.
outplayed Mahomes.
Don't get me wrong, Jalen Hurts was unbelievable. But as a thrower, like the reason he's there is because of his ability on the ground. So if we factor in everything,
but that wins games. If you're a runner, that
I don't
wins games.
disagree with that. I'm just saying like people put him. Yesterday, who the fuck? Why am I blanking?
Ari Merov was here.
Oh, Ari Merov. Yeah, he put him third, over
Josh
Josh Allen, and he had an amazing year, but he's not better than Josh Allen as a fucking quarterback. His MVP-like season and his rushing ability put him there, and I'm not discrediting that. I just think like people are overvaluing what he did on the ground and overlooking what he did as a thrower. But he was unbelievable in the Super Bowl, and I get that. I just
One
think
quarterback
he's a
that
little
comes to mind when I
overrated.
think of that though, like overrated because of fantasy, is Justin Fields, like by a mile.
Well, yeah, we
Fields
know
was a
that.
better comparison.
Like he's an awesome.
But I see what
he's
you're
an
saying,
awesome
though,
runner,
like-
Yeah, I
but,
get
like,
it. I
you can
totally
say
get
you
it.
can say a running back, like obviously he receives a lot and he hasn't gotten 1,000 yards rushing. But if that's not today's game, then why is that a
That's
knock?
what I'm saying. Like, has
That's
Lamar
your
ever had a? He might have. I don't know. I might sound dumb, but like, has Lamar ever thrown for 4,000 yards in a year?
Nobody led the
I don't
NFL in
think
passing
so.
touchdowns.
Yeah, but like touchdowns they come and go. Like,
He
I
was
don't.
I think he was like top 5 in passing yards that year in his MVP season.
I don't
Yeah,
think
I'm
he- I
just
don't-
saying though. But
I
like,
don't
if
know.
1,000 yards is the mark, like 4,000 is not hard to throw for in today's NFL.
Nah, that's
so
like
if you put
standard,
an arbitrary
yeah.
mark, I feel like you can do that position
Sure.
by position. But it's almost like inflation is coming up in terms of like how the NFL values positions and what they could do.
Yeah.
It's like if your deep ball accuracy isn't there, like maybe you running for 8 yards at a clip consistently makes up for that. So that's the way I look at it. I'm surprised that people don't rank Eckler higher. It's kind of interesting because like Eckler's a dude that it feels like every year you're kind of like waiting for the fall off to happen, and then it's
Yeah.
just like 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, like every year, and you're like, he's good.
Yeah.
This is the year he regresses, but it just never happens. So
I just think like if we're gonna put an arbitrary number for a quarterback, then the arbitrary number for a running back is 1,000 rushing yards and some receiving yards. To me, 1,000 yards is fair. I mean, if you look at the people that had 1,000 yards this year, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Saquon, Miles Sanders, Dalvin Cook, Justin Fields, Christian McCaffrey, Travis Etienne, Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, Kenneth Walker, Madre Stevenson, Tyler Algier, Najee Harris, who is your favorite player in the NFL, Tony Pollard, and then Dameon Pierce was 60
Yeah, but
yards
they're not.
off.
But they're not doing as much as a whole.
I guess okay.
I get that. I'm just saying, like, there are a lot of running backs there.
You just want your stereotypical,
You put any
prototypical
of those
running back.
runners in like the Texans offense, they're gonna run for 700 yards. I'm confident Eckler will have like 1,400 to 1,500 yards from scrimmage, regardless of what offense he's in. That's kind of the way I would look at it. Most of these guys
versatility.
are not efficient. They just get volume. You put them behind a bad offensive line, they're not going to produce.
Yeah, no, I understand the volume.
And that's
I-
why he's a good fantasy player, by the way.
You're just
Always
enthralled
producing.
by the Bijan, like 6'2", 220 running back. Yeah, that's what you want.
I'm just saying he's not a top 5 running back. That's all it is. I'm not saying he's ass. I'm just saying there are 5 running backs I will take over Austin Eckler.
Ooh.
Can I look at a list?
No, you go off the dome.
Off the dome.
You don't
Okay.
need to look at a list to go top 5.
Well, CMC, Dalvin Cook,
Ramondre.
Nick Chubb.
You take Cook right now?
I wouldn't
Yeah, I
say-
still
I
would
wouldn't
take
take
that.
Cook.
Did you
over
watch
him,
football
no.
last year?
Yeah, absolutely. Dalvin Cook still.
He was cooked.
Why?
Good punt.
Dalvin Cook still had 1,400 all-purpose yards.
Oh, we talking all-purpose now.
But,
Eckler.
but that's why, as a runner, he still
Get
had, what,
fucked,
900
Adam.
yards, 1,000
Yeah,
yards?
fuck you, Adam.
Cook's not the guy he was 3 years
I'm not
ago.
saying I'll still take Dalvin Cook.
I think that's crazy.
I'll still take Dalvin Cook.
I think that's crazy.
I would not take Dalvin Cook.
I would take Derrick Henry.
You'll take Ezekiel Elliott, right?
Nah. Devin A-Chain.
What about
Kareem Hunt, bro.
Does Alvin Kamara have any value in fantasy this year?
Ooh.
I always loved him.
Okay, so Kamara's like another one that I've been in like the fantasy industry for long enough that like I've learned to stay away from trying to predict legal issues and things like that. Anyone in fantasy, basically like the analysis you get from fantasy people is just so out of pocket. Like they have no actual context other than like going to ESPN.com and getting stats.
Right.
Whereas like you need to follow people that are actually in the NFL windmill of things that get access to like teams and players and stuff.
Ari.
So yeah, so like anytime I'm thinking about like legal proceedings or thinking about things like that, I tend to stay away from it. He is at the point where he's going so low that I'm like, what if the case just gets pushed to next year? You're getting Alvin Kamara in like the 8th round, and even if he's been like super mid since Drew Brees left in the passing game, but like even that, like Kamara is going to be a great player if he's playing 12, 13 games this year.
All right, and if he doesn't,
I'll
what we
take
got?
Alvin Kamara over Austin Eckler.
Stop that.
What?
Actually,
I would too.
purity. Yeah, you know what? I might be in on that.
Kendra Miller season?
I love Kendra too, but I also don't see a real path to like a lot of touches if Kamara's playing.
But if he's out.
If he's out, Kendra is like, I think he could be like a league winner down the stretch. Yeah.
If you could bring back one all-time fantasy player for this year, what fantasy player would it be? We could all answer this question, if just for fun. Like basically, the question is like, who was your favorite fantasy player growing up?
So the cop-out answer would be Vic, but like when you look at his actual numbers, like he wouldn't actually be that good of a fantasy player in today's world. Arian Foster for me.
He was sick.
So
love
special,
Arian
bro.
Foster.
He
I don't think
was
that
sick.
people understand. So he went like undrafted, right? Undrafted. His rookie year, he had maybe like 600 yards from scrimmage. His next year, 2,200 yards from scrimmage.
That's
like
crazy.
out of fucking no. He is the guy. Michael Vick made me fall in love with football. Arian Foster made me fall in love with fantasy football. He was like one of the first dudes I picked up and like helped me win a league. And I was like, I know what I'm doing out here. You know, like super lucky. But like Foster was a dude that made me fall in love with fantasy football. And looking back on it, his numbers are crazy too. Like even in today's world, he'd probably have been the RB1 on any random given year. So Foster's that guy for me.
The thing about Arian Foster too, I feel like you strip away fantasy and you just watched him play and he ran so smooth.
So smooth.
Like I don't think there's a guy like that today. That is just
And like
that
6'1",
smooth.
230, like and can catch passes. He was breaking away for like 80-yard plays.
His
Like every
cuts
day.
were crazy.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Jack, who's one of your all-time favorite fantasy players?
I'm usually pretty ass at fantasy, so that's hard. But
So am I. But
I would say one of my favorite. I don't know why. I feel like
Elijah Mitchell probably.
Elijah Mitchell. I loved Vernon Davis.
Yeah.
Like a very heavy pass catching like tight end like that would be kind of nice. There's only like 3 tight ends that you realistically want to take.
Mine is also a tight end. Mine is Greg Olsen.
I always had him growing up.
Loved Greg Olsen in fantasy. I had a keeper league where we like basically, I was explaining this to them yesterday. Basically, like the rule was wherever you draft them the next season, if you wanted to keep them, you would give up the pick 2 rounds earlier. So keeping Greg Olsen for me was super valuable. It was like, let's say I got him in the 8th round one year and I wanted to keep him the next year, then I just have to give up my 6th round pick. But he was like a 3rd round pick tight end, you know. So I'd always keep Greg
He was
Olsen.
sick with Chicago.
He was
Carolina.
good. Also, I mean, the other one is Chris Johnson. He was fucking.
Johnson's gross.
I won a league with my dad
Yeah,
that
that
I
was
shared
my
a
first
team
dub.
when I was like, I don't know, 11, right? Something like that. It's a good one. What about you? You guys have a favorite player
I got 2.
or nostalgia? What you got?
2013 Jimmy Graham when he was with Drew Brees.
Ooh, bunch of tight ends.
16 touchdowns. I had to check.
16
wild.
touchdowns from a tight end, bro.
No. Jimmy Graham, because Jimmy Graham,
He was
that was
so
that was the year that he would just Drew
he
Brees
just
lob
would throw
it
it
up,
up,
to
give
Jimmy.
me
That's right.
and that
ginger
was just like-
giant.
That's when they didn't know he was gonna get his contract and they didn't know whether to pay him as a receiver or a tight
Yeah.
end. And he wanted receiver money, I think, but
That was just unfair. The other one, which is like semi-recent, I've never been more afraid of a player like presently than 2017 Todd Gurley. I just
my
felt
God.
someone that like in a Sean McVay offense was always going to have a touchdown no matter what, was going to have 22 plus points a game.
He was a cheat code.
Todd Gurley was scary. You picked Todd Gurley, you won your league that year.
So sad what
I
happened.
bring
He was
back
a
Todd
dog
Gurley.
at that time, and that's when the Rams didn't have that many weapons. So that's crazy. For me, it's Jamal Charles.
Yeah.
He was the guy I drafted every single year. There was that year, like I think he was coming back from an MCL and he was going, I don't know, I think he was going late or something. I would draft him early. Whenever I could draft Jamal Charles, because like what he did for me on the years that he was so good
Did you
was
draft
incredible.
Broncos Jamal Charles too?
Nah, I didn't do that. But I think it was 20. 20. Nah, the year I'm thinking about was like it was like 2016 or something like that, and he was coming off an MCL and he was falling because of that. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna steal him in the second round, and then he like retore his leg like in like 3 weeks, and I was like, fuck, bro. But nah, Jamal Charles went around. I think if I had to think like 2014, 2015, like those 2013, the way Andy Reid used them.
2013 and 2012, yeah, his two best years.
Yeah.
Oh, 2010 as well.
Who was his quarterback then?
Yeah,
Was that Matt
1400.
He had like
Castle?
Alex Smith.
Alex Smith, yeah.
That was before Alex Smith, I want to say.
Nah, he had Alex
Maybe his
Smith too,
later
but he had
years,
Matt.
yeah,
He had
that
Matt.
was-
Castle, like,
2013 was probably his best
2013,
year
yeah.
for fantasy.
It was stupid, bro. I remember like watching him on Monday Night Football, and he had like
was Alex Smith was Niners.
he was one of the few guys I had seen get 50-point games, like 50-point PPR fantasy games.
I think
which
we
was
had
sick.
we were doing some trivia in the office. And I can't remember the question verbatim, but it was like, which running back has had the single highest like PPR performance out of a running back? And in the game, he went over like 230 receiving yards or whatever, and had like 20 rushing yards. It was like the running back at
Only
20
20
rushing.
rushing
It was something
yards.
crazy
Bro.
like that. Yeah.
And it was a game that was like super tight at the end. I remember like I think it might have been like Chiefs Broncos or some shit like that. But yeah, it was incredible. Jamal Charles was fun to watch, and I think he was like he would have fit so perfectly in today's game.
Yeah.
Whereas back then, you know, like that's the reason he was so special back then is because you didn't have running backs that could just run routes and be utilized like that. So
Nice. Yeah.
Sick.
All right, I got a hypothetical for all of us as well. Basically, you need to turn your team, whatever team you're a fan of,
this one.
turn your team into a Super Bowl champion by taking 2 players from another team in your division and replacing those 2 players, like the same position on your team. So the best player from that same position. So for example, if you're going to take a quarterback, or let's say you're going to take a wide receiver from a different team in your division, you have to replace your best wide receiver on your team. So you have to basically pick the best
All right, who's
player
going
in,
first?
in your division. You want to go first?
no.
Sounds like I'll go first.
Yeah?
This is so easy. For
You're a
Falcons.
Falcons fan?
We have
Oh,
2
yeah.
like glaring holes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well,
So
Go
Wide
first.
receiver and tight end. We'll swap them out.
All right, so what
Well,
are
who
the
are those
players?
guys?
I
Pick
was
a
just fucking around. You guys took that real
I
serious.
was like,
No,
wait a
obviously
second.
I'm
I'm like,
the-
that, you picked that
Yeah,
big of a
I was like, you gonna leave
Desmond
Desmond
Ridder
Ridder in
guy?
there, bro?
No.
Hey, he was nice and sensitive.
Dude, the
but-
shitty part about this is like we don't have great replacements in our division for Desmond Ritter. It's
That's
like
true.
you could choose. I'm
Oh,
going to choose
yeah,
either Bryce
Carr.
Young or Derek Carr.
Yeah.
And honestly, both of them will be fine.
Oh, Baker's right there though.
Stop.
Kyle Trask, Blaine Gabbert, come on.
We just need a game
That's
manager for
funny.
our offense, right? So I'd swap Desmond Ritter and like I want to take Bryce Young.
Take the future, yeah.
I'll take the future, but I don't. Does a rookie get us to the Super Bowl in
No.
year 1? Probably not.
Nah.
Is the
Oh,
question
and
for
after-
this
after-
year?
Derek Carr
for
could.
this year?
So this year, you got to turn your team into
Then
a
you gotta
Super
go
Bowl
Into a
Carr.
Super Bowl champion this
Gardner
year.
Minshew?
The best
Oh no, he's on the
player.
Colts. I'm stupid.
No, he's on the Falcons.
Yeah, I'm gonna take. Oh God,
no.
I'm gonna take Derek Carr over Bryce Young just because he's a rookie and he's not gonna take us to the Super Bowl. And then our pass rush has been just the most embarrassing like subsection of a team in the NFL for the
Shout out
last 2
Vic
years.
Beasley though.
I'm gonna take Brian Burns from Carolina.
You school.
Shout out.
I don't
That's
know.
a boy.
Friend of the
Played
pod.
High school
Went to high
basketball.
school.
Really? Hell yeah. And we don't even have like. There's no best D end on our team because they're all miserable. Like we signed Calais Campbell, who's like 40 years old at this point. I couldn't even.
Y'all
name
Calais
Big name
Campbell?
though.
He was good
Yeah.
once.
Fuck, dude.
Bud Dupree, that's
good-
like how
he
we
was good so
revamped
long
our
ago. Yeah.
our,
There you go.
our defense. It's
Bud
all like
Dupree.
dudes that are 38. Yeah, so give me Brian Burns.
Bro, and like
Pass
Madden
rush.
16, when like Bud Dupree or Madden 17, Bud Dupree was a rookie. Bro, like they made and when you played Ultimate Team, they made like a supersize. He was like 7'3", ran all over the field. It was incredible, bro.
All right, Jack, Niners.
All right, yeah, for the Niners. On offense, there's not really many holes to be on, but like quarterback's the one that glares out. So I'll be like, I love Brock, but I'll take I don't know, Stafford or Murray. That's tough. I'll probably take Kyler because I feel like Kyler in that like Shanahan
yeah,
offense would be sick.
No
I thought you were
Geno?
gonna say Geno.
No Geno?
Fuck no. I think I'm taking Geno. Get out of here. And then on defense, the line is fine. I'll probably
The Niners are perfect.
dude. I might.
I would replace Nick Bosa if I were you.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Honestly,
Fred Warner's not that good.
yeah, I was thinking. I'm thinking either corner or safety. Corner. I'll go Tariq Woolen
That's solid.
instead of Charvarius Ward. I like Charvarius Ward though, but I was thinking that or maybe Buda Baker. One of the two.
Solid.
You want to go?
All right,
I can go.
Is Buda's like
I haven't thought that. Have you been thinking?
Yeah, I have mine.
All right, go ahead.
All right, I'm a
I haven't
Giants
thought
fan.
of it yet.
I'm a Giants fan. I'm gonna keep Daniel Jones. All right.
Fuck yeah.
I don't need. I don't.
That's your computer?
I set that up.
assume?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not my computer, but I put the background on today.
That's
So
the guy.
that's
The camera picks that up.
yeah.
There's a good fantasy guy that maybe
I'm
isn't
gonna-
that good in real life.
I'm gonna
There you
take AJ Brown and I'll replace, I guess, Sterling Shepard.
Or
is our
Isaiah
guess.
Hodgins.
No, Darius Slayton. I think Sterling.
All your players are like
Whoever
the
the
same.
fuck.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Sterling
Take
Shepard.
whoever they want.
I'll replace Sterling Shepard
Yeah.
with AJ Brown.
Can you imagine AJ Brown, Saquon, and Darren Waller? If
That would be fucking filthy. And Daniel Jones, don't forget.
obviously, hey, best dual threat.
And on
quarterback the
defense, I'm gonna take Micah Parsons. I'm gonna replace Kayvon Thibodeau.
draft. Yeah, that's
Gotta take.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Why not take replace the other D end?
Who is the other DN?
Exactly.
Well, that's part of the
Yeah.
game. You got to take.
Oh, you gotta take the
replace
best
the
one.
best.
You gotta take
Oh,
the
okay.
best one. Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah,
right. So, but I don't even know who our other D end is. I can't
Could
even
have taken
remember.
Leighton Vander Esch,
Yeah.
a little middle linebacker.
You got to build that championship team and
I probably
give
could have
something to
taken
get
like
something.
Lane Johnson also.
Oh, you
I think
could have.
Parsons was the right pick.
Yeah, you had to.
what are you doing, Cowboys fan?
So on offense,
You don't got to do anything.
He's
bro.
taking
You're
Parsons
perfect.
back.
Yeah.
yeah, facts. On offense, we are pretty fucking good. I was thinking, I'm like,
Yo,
damn,
Daniel
we're
Jones
kinda-
doesn't really turn the ball over. You could
Exactly.
probably use a guy
Dak
like
led
that.
the league in
Good
picks,
game
bro.
manager. You know,
stupid, bro.
Scramble ability.
Nah, that's a guy that's good in fantasy and not good in real life.
Is Daniel paid more than Dak now, or nah?
Should be.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
don't
I think it's probably just
Hey, but Dak's got the smartest contract for an NFL.
apparent.
NFL
According to
quarterback.
Ari Mero, you're right.
All right, so on offense, I think I'm looking at offensive line, but like Darren Waller would be fucking awesome in our offense. So I'll give up fucking whoever our starter's supposed to be this year, Jake
Luke
Ferguson.
Musgrave.
No.
Jake Ferguson. Is that the
Packers.
rookie?
Packers.
Uh,
Schoonmaker.
yeah,
Schoonmaker.
Luke.
Well, you said
They're
that's
gonna
the
go
second best pick of the draft after Mozzie Smith.
Oh yeah, the best picks in the draft were Mozzie Smith.
Is
Luke
this
Schumacher.
just Dallas picks?
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
entire
No,
draft.
the whole draft.
No, the whole draft.
Those are the
Dallas
best
was
two best
two
picks.
best.
No,
picks.
it's a joke.
Because the
No.
Cowboys. No, it's not a joke.
Cowboy fan also wearing the Yankee hat. So
And he's a Lakers fan.
He's
I
American.
had to wear the
Lakers fan.
no, he's a bad.
I'm a Mavs fan.
He's
I'm a Mavs
Dallas all the way.
fan. Yeah, but I don't do baseball, so I'll wear the Yankees. 'cause
Whoa,
it's okay.
chill out. C-head.
So I'll do that. I'll put Darren Waller in that offense. That might be the best offense in the league now. And then defensively, I had to think. Washington.
There's some Eagles.
There are some Eagles. Who's starting at safety for the Eagles?
I don't know.
They lost
Fucking-
CJ.
Do you need?
I don't fucking.
We're fucking talented, bro. Nah, you know what? I'll
you
give
just,
up.
You just don't want to replace obviously Trayvon.
Yeah, we got to keep front of the pod. Oso Digazua in there. You know what I mean?
D tackle.
I was about to say you could get like a Fletcher Cox or something.
I know. That's what I was thinking.
Dexter Lawrence, like
Nah, I'll get Fletcher. I'll go Fletcher.
really over Dexter Lawrence
Yeah.
right now.
I don't give a fuck. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we'll do Fletch, and we'll give up our other DT, which is
Mozzie Smith.
Oh, bro.
Yeah,
the
we'll give
best
him-
pick of the draft.
well, technically our best D tackle right now is probably Osa. I'm sorry, Osa. I'm sorry. Osa's come on the pod a couple times.
We've had their D
So
tackle.
like
on
the D
pod.
tackle on the Cowboys. So, I'm sorry, Osa, but Fletcher's gonna come in.
Yeah,
So I'll do that.
that's the right.
That'd be a good
rights.
defense.
All right, well,
would
Miami
be-
Dolphins are winning the Super Bowl with this one.
Porpoises.
The Miami Porpoises. We're gonna win the Super Bowl.
Take
I'm
Aaron
gonna
Rodgers.
take Josh Allen and replace
Ooh.
Tua because our offensive line isn't
Yeah.
great,
You don't
and I don't want to
running
give up.
back at all.
What?
You want a running back at all?
Or
No.
Rodgers.
I
You
thought
don't
you
want
loved Tua. I
Rodgers.
thought you're all in on Tua, bro.
I
Yeah,
need
but he's
a
got
mobile.
McDaniel.
I need a
He's fine.
mobile
You have
quarterback.
to win right now,
with-
though.
Yeah,
you don't want
I-
Rodgers.
No, I will take Josh Allen.
Allen-
I want a
Allen
mobile
can win
quarterback because our offensive line isn't that good, and I don't want to give up Teron Armstead. So I need a mobile quarterback
And he
in a
can
Mike
take a beating,
McDaniel
too.
system. That'd
And
be
he-
crazy.
Yeah.
Bro, Josh Allen, Devon A-Chain. Whoo, what a
Josh
duo.
Allen, Tyreek Waddle, and then I'm going to give up Jerome Baker and get Matt Milano from the Bills. Build that linebacking core with David Long, and now
Yeah, bro, linebacker's super.
Shout
love
out David
David
Long.
Long.
Shout out David
Yeah,
Long. The goat.
and now the Dolphins win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, dude.
That's simple.
It's just that easy.
It's that easy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's that easy.
That was
Be a
fun.
GM,
All
bro.
right.
All right, we love to ask every guest that comes on the pod
Yep.
to give us your top 10 quarterback rankings. Okay, it's a little difficult. The first 5 are easier. 6 through 10 is where it gets interesting. So I'm curious, who are your top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL?
Just like straight up.
As close to in order as you can
Off the
go.
dome.
Okay.
I think we should do that in fantasy.
Oh, you want to do in fantasy?
Let's do both.
do
Both.
that.
All right, so we'll start with general, and then we'll do your fantasy quarterback rankings.
I'm gonna go Mahomes, Burrow, Allen,
That
Hurts.
is the top 3. Of course.
Hurts, yeah.
Get this one.
That finger.
What's going on?
I can't do that either.
Can't get these up. I got to
Jared Goff.
Stop. I'm deciding between 2 guys.
Desmond Ridder.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Desmond and Kyle Trask. Let's go. I'll go Herbert, L-Jax, Trevor Lawrence.
It's so hard.
It is
People
hard.
don't give enough credit to how hard it is off the
Really
dome.
difficult.
It is.
Once you get here, it's like fuck.
Don't forget the new man in New York.
Yeah, I'm not too excited about him in the Jets uniform.
It's spicy. That guy's available too.
Let's go. Oh, God, I hate this.
Bailey Zappi's available.
Bro, you're funny,
Do I
dude.
got a shot clock?
No. You want us to throw out names?
No, I can do this.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay, you got it.
I can do this, bro.
Perseverance.
Let me cook right now. Hold up.
Michael.
Skylar
Brock
Thompson.
Purdy.
Yeah, can we talk about Dalvin Cook's all-purpose yards?
Oh, he still has 1,200 rushing yards.
All right, let's go. Dak.
Yes!
I hate that. Like I hate that I did that. I don't even believe.
I
me
respect
in
that. I
saying
respect
that.
it.
No, we
don't-
believe. You believe. It's all good,
It's
bro.
right, though.
I'm gonna throw Tua in at 9,
Nice.
Hey.
and I'm gonna send you guys a tweet that I tweeted out that I want you to put on the screen if you're doing this list.
I will do this. We'll do
And then
that.
10. I'm gonna throw Kirk over Aaron Rodgers.
Ooh, no Aaron
Damn.
Rodgers in the top 10.
I like Kirk in
Why?
the
Why?
top
Why?
10.
Why no Aaron Rodgers in the top 10?
Dude, I feel like the changing of teams is like so underrated in terms of like how difficult it is to do from the quarterback position and get this nuance going with a new group of guys. Like last year, you saw how far he goes back-to-back MVPs, loses Devonte Adams, and he's like kind of a different quarterback
He was
last year.
injured for a long period of time.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. But like, I don't know. I don't really try to like rechase primes. I feel like when a guy's older and they've shown that glimpse of like being out of their prime, it's not something that I try to rechase.
It's out.
I agree. I do still think he's a top 10 quarterback, but I
I could probably
get
throw
the-
him in over Kirk, but like I feel like Kirk's been consistently at like the 4,400
No
yard
Deshaun
mark.
Watson?
I think he's got to probably prove it again to me before I throw him back in there.
No Brock Purdy yet?
What about Kirk in primetime, though?
Oh, that's a top 3 quarterback.
Listen,
I mean, I know you like 1 o'clock, Kirk. We all do.
yeah.
But,
I think this year though, I'm excited to see the Minnesota offense.
Yeah, for sure.
now
Jordan
that
Addison's gonna
the
help him
GOAT
out.
running back Dalvin Cook's not there
Yeah.
anymore. But they
Bro,
got
his all-purpose
Hawkinson,
yards is crazy.
Future porpoise.
Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson's like a pretty
I like
sexy
that.
trio there.
Yeah,
for
I'm-
pass
yeah,
catchers. So I feel like
no
Kirk
doubt.
might kind of go off this year.
All right, fantasy-wise.
Fantasy-wise, who are your top 10 quarterbacks? And then we got to wrap.
Or you can just do top 10 players.
All right. Well, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Justin Fields.
Yeah. I knew he was coming.
I actually probably put him too low there. I think
Fields ahead of Burrow.
Over Burrow, yeah.
Backtrack.
I might throw Fields over Burrow. Yeah.
Okay. So
And
it's top
over-
5.
Fields 5.
Fields 5.
Fields him and Lamar were the only dudes last year that had multiple 40-point fantasy games, and Tua was the only other one that had just one single one.
That's why Felipe won his
Like
dynasty
Fields'
league.
upside is like actually crazy, and they finally invested in the O line and the weapons and stuff. Like
Yeah.
He's gonna have a good year.
Fields is
Might
going to
go
be nice
nuts.
this year. Yeah, so
you
Fields
got
is
5
there.
there.
I got Fields, and then Burrow was 6.
Oh, Burrow.
Yeah, Burrow
was
6.
I'm gonna put Herbert at 7. I'm trying to think if I'm like forgetting any like obvious mobile quarterbacks.
Now, who'd you put at 4?
Lamar.
Lamar, you're right.
Yeah, Lamar, Fields,
about
Burrow,
it.
Herbert.
Oh, Anthony Richardson maybe?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think I'm there with him.
Rookie
yet.
year.
It's
Yeah.
hard to do that rookie year.
I'm trying to decide between
Gino?
Kirk. Yeah, Geno's not a bad pick. Geno, Kirk, Tua, Dak.
It's kind of like the mid-range
Kyler-
guys. I mean, still
Kyler
QB1s, but
Daniel Jones.
Kyler won't be back till like mid-year.
He's there.
probably.
He's probably more of a top 12-ish, 12, 13 guy.
Jones?
Yeah, I feel like Kyler's probably going to miss like 8 games or something this year. I'm probably staying away from him. I'll go 8. I'll go 8 Tua, 9 T-Law, 10 Kirk.
cool.
You're high on Kirk.
Yeah, no reason not to be, I feel like.
Yeah.
He's been consistently like the QB 12, 11, and now I feel like
Yeah, he
he's
delivers.
got the best weapons he's had, plus an offense that's going to throw the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Facts,
He gets
facts.
hated on so much, man, just for the primetime stuff.
Well, I mean, that's deserved, though.
We hate.
You're supposed to perform. No, I love Kirk. I'm the Kirk lover here.
He might be a dude that fits that question where he's like, I think he's better at fantasy than he probably is as a real life quarterback.
Yeah.
He's good enough. I like him.
All right, interesting. You got quick top 5, top 10 wide receivers for fantasy?
I could do. Yeah, let me try. Hold on.
So top 10 wide receivers for fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go Jefferson. Fuck it. Let's go Kupp, Chase.
Yeah.
Kupp, Chase, Hill. Who's the obvious 5? There's a 5. I feel like that.
Devontae?
Stephon, Devontae.
AJ Brown.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go
CD.
Diggs at 5, AJ Brown at 6.
Sedarian.
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 Is that his name?
Sedarian
CD?
Lamb.
Is that his name?
Is that his
Yeah.
name?
Yeah, no, he's not going in at 7.
C-section lamb? You're sure it's
That's
not
dis-
C-section?
That's disrespectful.
I'm gonna go Waddle at 7. I'm gonna go Devontae at 8, CD 9, and
Brandon Ayuk.
Did you say AJ Brown?
like
think I
Garrett
put him-
Wilson? Is he going to be good?
6. I hope.
T. Higgins?
If not, throw him in there. T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Amon Ra come to mind.
Amon-Ra, yeah, he had a great season.
JSN rookie year for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Loki.
Not just because I drafted him in Dynasty or anything.
I'll throw Amon Ra at the 10.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure.
Marvin
who else
Harrison
is left
Jr. possibly.
next
Nice.
year.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's a big dynasty. That's a big dynasty pickup coming in.
Should I tank this year for Marvin Harrison Jr.?
probably.
You should tank for Caleb Williams.
I got Fields and Lamar, bro. Yeah.
Caleb's.
His
I
dynasty
know.
team is nice.
My dynasty team's
bro.
that-
I
disgusting, yeah.
love having fantasy people on these episodes because it feels like it's educating me so much earlier than I normally would be
Yeah, you should be
educated
like
for
a week
fantasy.
before the draft. I'm looking up a few.
Yeah, 'cause not
I
everyone-
better fucking win my league this year.
Yeah, not
Like,
everyone's
I
doing
feel
like
so
10 mocks a
prepared.
day like this guy, so-
None of my friends are thinking about fantasy yet, but now,
Yeah.
my juice is already
Should we do a
flowing.
mock right now?
Nah, you're good. You're good, bro. You're good.
All right,
Yo,
Nick. Well,
get that 4th pick.
Nick, thanks for coming on the pod, man.
a
Appreciate
blast,
you giving
bro.
us some
Yeah, that was
insight.
awesome. Hell yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Drop your socials. Where can people find you?
Yeah, if you just search BDGE, you'll be able to find it. BDGE,
Fire.
Big Dogs Gotta Eat. It's everywhere.
Dogs.
They
Thanks.
do have to eat.
Shout out your pod with Jack Settlement is pretty dope, man. I've
Big
listened to a
content?
few
Oh,
episodes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, if
Oh,
you're a
yeah.
content creator, I love
Yeah.
that's like my true passion is talking about marketing, branding, content, stuff
Yeah,
like that.
sick.
Oh,
Good
Yeah,
stuff.
so Big Content is the name of that podcast.
Fire.
That's sweet,
Is it
man.
true that y'all having interns apply and they gotta apply shirtless or something like that? they gotta send you in a video shirtless or some shit?
We didn't make them send in the video show. So we had we're bringing on interns. We have 3 of them coming in. They start next week. But throughout the application process, they filled out a form and we made them submit a video on the
Yeah.
bottom. But the video was like, tell us why you'd be good for the position.
Yeah.
90% of them are like sending in videos while they're on the toilet or like shirtless in bed.
What?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That is a great bit. You didn't apply? Shirtless in bed? On the shitter?
I feel like that's,
I was late,
that's where
bro.
you thrive.
You did post a shirtless picture on your Instagram story. The other
Dude, that was
day,
your
though.
first thirst trap.
So
I
I'm
think,
just
ever.
saying, you really trapped me.
Hey, if
Bro,
you
you're
got it,
calling
if you got
this
it,
shit
flaunt
out.
it, dude. Don't worry about it.
For the record, I got 3 wide receivers with the 4th pick. I'm liking that 4th pick, Jack.
3 wide receivers. Already? Who do you got?
We got
bro?
Jamar, we got Garrett Wilson, and we got Keenan Allen. I'm happy with
Dude,
it.
fuck yes. Who are your running backs?
I haven't drafted one yet.
Oh, that's
Stop
good.
after
Good
30.
strategy.
Nick, thanks again for coming on. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Caps Off podcast.
See ya.
Peace.
Shout out to Nick from Big Dogs Gotta Eat. You probably see him on TikTok. He's huge, so make sure to go check him out. Also, betting promos, betting advice. Go to thegameday.com. And last but not least, 10,000 subs. Share with your friends, because Jack's going to get an ass tat. And I know everyone wants to see that ass, so